We want to take a look at America's views on some of those challenges facing the country and particularly how President Biden is handling them. Our CBS News poll out today indicates that the president's approval rating is at 50%. It has stabilized following the chaotic Afghanistan pullout and is underpinned by positive views on handling of the COVID outbreak and vaccine distribution. But Americans' view of the economy has steadily decreased since the summer. Less than 40% now think it's in good shape. Joining us now is CBS News Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Good morning to you, Anthony.
Good morning, Margaret.
Anthony, time and again we hear it is the virus that determines the direction of the economy. So, with that in mind, what are Americans telling you about whether or not they are willing to vaccinate their children when it becomes available for 5 to 11-year-olds?
Well, Margaret, not everybody would, and I think that sets up one of the key numbers to track as we go forward in the next phase of fighting this pandemic. You've got just over a third who say immediately yes, they would. You've got almost as many who immediately say no, they would not. And then you've got folks in the middle who are maybes. I should add that there's a strong connection between whether the parents themselves are vaccinated and whether they would get their kids 5 to 11 vaccinated. That's a majority of vaccinated parents who would, but it's a majority of unvaccinated parents who say they would not. We've been tracking this in our polling and throughout the year. It's a mixture of very personal reasons, but also some that have a political tinge to it. So there are folks, a majority of them unvaccinated, who say they're worried about the side effects for themselves. But there's also a majority that say they don't trust the government, some who are skeptical that they don't think the vaccine works.
So given all of that, what are Americans telling you about what they're willing to do right now when it comes to going out and spending?
Yeah, and this is so important for the economy going forward. First of all, as the holiday season approaches, people are thinking about who they're going to visit, who they gather with, right? There's a quarter of folks who tell us that this holiday season they're only going to gather with other vaccinated people if they're vaccinated. And there are some who think it'll be a mixture of gathering with both vaxxed and unvaxxed. But there's a third who say they're not sure or they won't check. Maybe that's an awkward conversation to have. Maybe they don't know how to raise it. So that's something to watch in terms of behavior and how people go out and who they hang out with. Then there's the economy in terms of where people go and spend money. Well, for the vaccinated people, they say they'd be more comfortable if they knew there were vaccine requirements to, for example, get on a plane, go to a restaurant, even go back to their workplaces. And that's a majority of people, so that economic impact could be pretty strong if they feel comfortable. Maybe that puts more pressure on businesses to put those kinds of requirements in place.
Anthony, President Biden said that it was the virus impacting the jobs and hiring, but also said that if his spending packages are passed, that it will help to alleviate all of this. How is his effort to get this passed resonating?
Well, first and foremost, a lot of people say they don't know what's in the proposal. In fact, it's only 1 in 10 that thinks they feel like they know a lot of the specifics. Then we went and we tested individual items in this, and what we learned was that people are more familiar with the potential cost and the spending aspects in dollar figures than they are with any of the particular policies that might end up in it. So have a look at this. You've got a majority of people who say they've heard something about that it might be $3.5 trillion in spending. You've got a majority of people who say they've heard something about potential tax increases for higher income people. But that really outweighs the number of people who've heard about things like lowering Medicare drug prices or Medicare coverage being expanded to dental and eye and hearing. Now, there's good news for Democrats in this too, even though there's this lack of knowledge, and that is that those policy proposals are popular in principle. Where does that all leave you though? Well, there aren't a majority of people who feel like this bill right now would help them and their family or help the economy. That's part of that disconnect and that lack of awareness, and this is going to be, I think, the big measure to watch going forward, Margaret.
Anthony, thank you.